Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to The Edward. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I'll be discussing what I thought of the latest and crazy episode we got for The Boys, which dropped last night on Amazon Prime. I had a chance to watch it just now because I was at the movies last night watching A Quiet Place Day 1. You can check out that review right here on this channel. It's one of my more recent videos. You should be able to find it no problem. But we are talking about The Boys and what went down in this latest episode. Now, before I get to all of that, of course, please be warned that this is a spoiler-filled review. So if you're not caught up on The Boys by the most recent episode, which is episode 5 of season 4, you don't want to keep watching or listening, as I will be discussing spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back into it. First and foremost, it was a great balance of excitement, gore, and emotion. We got emotion with the Campbell story, the Campbell family. You know, it struck me a little, that struck a little close to home, because I think I mentioned this in my last review for this show. My dad had an extremely mild stroke several years ago. He's alive and still kicking, but it was an extremely scary and upsetting time for me. And I totally sympathized and really felt for Huey throughout this whole episode, since his storyline consisted of dealing with his dad, getting the compound V, turning him into a soup killer, or a killer soup, and then making the unfortunate decision of putting him down for good. Very sad, and it really struck a chord with me. Obviously, I didn't have to do that for my dad, because this is a show and we're in real life. But just the whole concept of losing a loved one like that is really hard to watch, even in entertainment, especially if you can relate to it on some level. But besides that, we got a healthy balance of excitement as well, with all the gore and the carnage from the Compound V jacked up farm animals that Newman's boyfriend and baby daddy of their daughter was working on or experimenting on. Oh, and it's the same guy from The Mandalorian and Fear the Walking Dead. His name escapes me, but I was like, oh, it's that guy. How cool. He's really getting around in TV these days. And then the return of Stan Edgar. Very cool. Always a pleasure to see Giancarlo Esposito. Kind of thought he was a dead man there for a second, but then I thought, no, she could have killed him at any point during this episode. She just sprung him from prison. Well, not from prison, but from the car that was taking him back to jail when the deal fell through. How she's going to keep quiet that she's hiding an escaped prisoner will be interesting to see how that plays out. But I love the killer sheep. That was an awesome added, a fun addition to this show, to this overall franchise. That was really cool. And I guess it's not that surprising Compound V would have that kind of effect on animals, because it seems like it turns them, not only gives them superpowers, but it makes them hyper aggressive and predatory, which like it did the chickens and the sheep. And it's just something fun. You just don't see that in movies or TV shows. Well, maybe in silly creature features, but not in something more grounded, something more serious like The Boys. So that was great. I also liked how it touched on the fact that Homelander is obviously not going to be winning Father of the Year anytime soon or ever. But he does seem to recognize that from the pain of his own past and his upbringing, he is at least giving Ryan choices he never had as a child or growing up or being Homelander altogether. So now it's cool to see that he's giving Ryan more freedom or more choices. Like, do you really want to do this? You want to do this stupid sounding show? And then he seems to support him when he says he wants to help people, but of course he and Ryan have two very different definitions of doing that, which leads to the woman slapping the hell out of the suck-up, inappropriate film director, which was pretty funny. So it's interesting to see how Homelander, from his own painful upbringing, is trying to make Ryan's life somewhat more easier or comfortable, as any parent would do. Despite the fact that he's a raging, murderous psychopath, he does seem to genuinely care for his son, but probably wants to mold him into his own shape and twisted image as well, too. So there's that to consider. Oh God, the upcoming reel of projects and movies that Vought has in store for their VCU was super funny, making fun of Marvel and DC for all the slates and film announcements they always do at Comic-Con and stuff like that. The super cringy white savior movie for A-Train's upcoming film with Will Ferrell is hysterical and super cringy. And then the Deep's super racist idea of some filter that applies to the person watching it, and all the black people in the audience seem to be really put off by it, including A-Train, possibly Sister Sage. And speaking of Sister Sage, I feel like if she's the smartest person on the planet, she knows A-Train was the leak. Because even when Homelander was telling the rest of the team that Cameron Coleman was the leak, she was looking at A-Train the whole time. And she's like, oh, you found a scapegoat. Very nice. Okay, I see what you're doing. But now will she tell Homelander and the rest of the team the truth? Who knows? Only time will tell. But this was obviously a result of Ashley and A-Train working together or finding a solution to their mutual problem, which was pin it on that rat fuck Cameron Coleman. Honestly, I'm not sad to see him go. He is basically a carbon copy of that very real human piece of shit, Tucker Carlson, the real life news journalist. And I did not mind seeing Cameron Coleman die. I mean, it was off screen, but we could hear the hits were pretty hard and there were squelching noises, so they just beat the holy hell out of him. So I don't mind that they did that because that guy was a prick anyway. Although his relationship with Ashley was pretty funny, so I will miss that. But I'm not surprised at all they found their scapegoat, and they found it in a pretty despicable form of a human being, which was Cameron Coleman. You know, I also liked how this episode seems to highlight how Huey and Annie, in their own different ways, are at their lowest that we've ever seen them before, and hopefully they make their way back to one another. And then we see this darkness rising within Butcher, where it's probably a result of the tumor in his brain and his partnership with Kessler. But I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Because at first I really thought that scientist was dead when they found his leg. But he chopped it off to make everyone think he was dead, so he would make more of that batch of the virus that could possibly kill all the soups. Because I thought, well, that's it for the virus storyline? Oh, I guess that plot line's out the door. Gonna have to find a way to kill the soup some other way. But turns out it's still alive and active, the plot line at least, because the scientist is alive and active, maybe missing a leg, but he's alive. So yeah, this episode had a little bit of everything, and it kept me engaged throughout. And it had me feeling emotional at the right points. It made me laugh at the right points. It made me go, what the fuck, at the right points. But that's what the boys do, plays with your emotions, but in a fun, entertaining way. So what did you guys think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Were you expecting more, expecting less? Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. Have a wonderful rest of your night. The Boys drops new episodes every Thursday on Amazon Prime. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. Thanks again for stopping by. And of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.